Lycidas, a Monody by John Milton. This is part fifth of the presentation. Milton wrote Lycidas a few months after his friend Edward King died in a shipwreck in 1637. The poem is a pastoral elegy, a form of poetry used to memorialize the dead, and has become one of the most famous reflections on loss in the English language. In the poem, Milton uses the death of the imaginary Lycidas as an occasion to mourn the death of his friend. His elegy weaves together classical and Christian images, moving from the pastoral tradition to the poem's final consolation, the promise of a harmonious song in heaven where Lycidas has been resurrected and lives again. Milton and Edward King met at Cambridge, where they were classmates and literary rivals. Though King had published just 12 poems at the time of his death, his friends and teachers wrote a collection of poetry praising his talent and mourning the loss of what he might have accomplished. Milton published Lycidas in 1638 as part of that collection. Though Milton wrote Lycidas to memorialize his dead friend, the poem is also doing much more. It is not so much an obituary for King as a poem written on the occasion of King's death. By reimagining himself and King as two shepherds, Milton distances himself from King's actual death and puts his poem in a dialogue with the conventions of pastoral poetry. More than King, Lycidas is about the relationship between grief and the traditions available to a poet who wants to express grief. By writing a pastoral elegy, Milton positions himself at the end of a tradition of great poets and suggests that he deserves a place among them. Pastoral poetry began with Theocritus, a classical Greek poet who wrote about shepherds having singing competitions in the fields. Theocritus' shepherds often sing about the dead and seem to lose themselves in emotion, but their elegies are also highly structured. Though they appear to speak from their hearts, they are always competing with others for the honor of composing the best poem. Milton never mentions a competition between shepherds and Lycidas, but Milton's readers would have had these singing battles at the back of their mind as they read his elegy. Pastoral poetry has a long history, and anyone who uses the form is putting themselves in conversation with all the poets famous for their pastoral poems. By writing a pastoral elegy, Milton is announcing to the world that he wants to compete with writers like Theocritus and Virgil. Even as he mourns his dead friend, he is establishing his own claim to literary fame through a poem that puts him in a singing competition with some of the greatest poets in history. Lycidas' character list. Shepherd. The shepherd speaks for the majority of the poem, singing about his grief for his dead friend, Lycidas. Milton models him of the shepherds in pastoral poetry who enter into singing competitions with each other while mourning lost loves. Lycidas. Lycidas is the subject of the speaker's eulogy and Milton's stand-in for his dead friend Edward King. The name Lycidas comes from pastoral poetry. In the poems of Theocritus and Virgil, Lycidas often appears as a shepherd in singing competitions. Phoebus. Phoebus is the Roman name for Apollo, a god in Greek mythology. He arrives to console the speaker who wonders whether he should continue to write poetry. Though the speaker's poetry may or may not achieve fame on earth, Apollo tells him that his poetry will be rewarded by fame in heaven. Though Apollo is a Greek god, Milton uses him to articulate a Christian idea. This is one of many Christian pagan fusions in Lycidas. The pilot of the Galilean lake who arrives at the end of the funeral procession is Saint Peter, one of Jesus' disciples. He is identifiable by the two keys Saint Peter always carries, which unlock the gates to heaven and hell. After Saint Peter arrives, he delivers a tirade on the corruption of the church, describing the English clergy as bad shepherds. Many have found his speech strange and out of place in an elegy for the dead. Second speaker. In the last 8 lines of the poem, the shepherd falls silent and a new speaker takes his place. The implication is that the second speaker has been there observing the entire scene. It is possible that he has narrated everything, quoting the shepherd's song, or that he only begins speaking in the final stanza of the poem. Milton changes the meter of the poem to match the new speaker, switching from canzone to ottava rima, an 8 line stanza with 10 or 11 syllables per line. Lycidas themes. Grief. More than Lycidas is about Milton's grief for the death of his friend Edward King, it is about the history of writers mourning through poetry. By writing a pastoral elegy, Milton connects his poem to a long tradition of poets writing in response to death through invented conversations between shepherds. The form is performative, and Milton exaggerates the performance almost to the point of parody in Lycidas. By taking the form to an extreme, Milton draws out the limitations of pastoral elegy and poetry more broadly. His performance emphasizes the irony in writing about grief. It is difficult to imagine his speaker genuinely mourning while also making calculated allusions to myths and biblical episodes. In Lycidas, Milton is constantly asking whether poetry provides the tools you need to mourn when his speaker exclaims, "What boots it?" He lays out one central thesis of the poem: in the face of death, why write poetry at all? Conciliation. Lycidas is a poem in search of conciliation, some lasting reassurance to bring an end to its speaker's grief. The poem seems to find its answer in a vision of Lycidas' new life in heaven, the Christian promise of resurrection, which moves Milton's speaker to leave the site of his grief in search of new pastures. Through this final image, Milton implies that the speaker has found his final consolation and moved beyond his despair. At the same time, Milton fills Lycidas with consolations that only last a few lines. His speaker is constantly finding momentary relief from his grief, only to plunge back into despair after a line break. Though Milton's poem ends with a final consolation, it is unclear whether the relief will last or vanish like all the false consolations that preceded it. The poem's final rhyme, blue and new, links the new pastures where the shepherd is going with all the sadness imbued in the color blue. Milton leaves it deliberately vague whether Lycidas is a poem about finding consolation or one about the impossibility of ever being truly consoled. Summary. The poem begins with the speaker collecting leaves for the funeral of Lycidas. He plucks berries and ivy that have not yet ripened, killing them before their season. Like Lycidas, the plants died too young. After collecting leaves for Lycidas, the speaker decides to write an elegy for him, the very elegy that we are reading. In stanza 2, he calls upon the muses to fill him with song as pastoral poets like Theocritus and Virgil do at the beginning of their own poems when they ask the muses to inspire the creation of their poetry. In stanza 3, the speaker recalls the days he spent with Lycidas, invoking rural imagery, images that wheel Milton's own memories of his days with Edward King at Cambridge, of the self-same hill where they learned together. He recalls that those days are over at the beginning of stanza 4, and his description of the landscape twists to fit his new mood. In stanza 5, he asks the nymphs why they were not there to help Lycidas when he died. Then he realizes it makes no difference. There is no scenario in which Lycidas would have lived. In stanza 6, the speaker reaches the first major crisis of the poem. He wonders whether poetry can accomplish anything and reflects on the limitations of fame on earth. The god Apollo Phoebus arrives to console him with the promise of fame in heaven, an early version of the poem's final consolation in the Christian promise of resurrection. In stanzas 7 through 9, the speaker imagines a slew of gods arriving to mourn the death of Lycidas. They have come to answer the call the speaker made to the muses at the beginning of the poem when he asked them to fill his urn with water and mourn Lycidas as they passed. Neptune's son Triton arrives first, with his winds following behind him. None of them accepts blame for Lycidas' death. They say the winds were good and the water was smooth. The ship sank because it was built during an eclipse and doomed to fail. Saint Peter, pilot of the Galilean lake, arrives last in the procession to mourn Lycidas. The speech he gives over Lycidas' body quickly turns into a sermon on the wrongs of church leaders, who he imagines as a group of shepherds singing broken songs while their sheep starve. The two massy keys represent the gates to heaven and hell, which Saint Peter has the power to open for the saved and the damned, respectively. In stanza 9, the speaker calls upon the flowers to mourn for Lycidas, then suddenly remembers that Lycidas' body is somewhere in the sea, where there can be no proper funeral. In stanza 10, the speaker imagines the sun setting only to rise again. The image is a metaphor for Christian resurrection. Like the setting sun, Lycidas has died only to rise again in heaven. Through the image of the rising sun, the poem arrives at its final consolation. In the last stanza of the poem, the shepherd falls silent and a new speaker takes his place. The new speaker describes the shepherd rising to explore new pastures, leaving the place where he grieved for Lycidas. Lycidas symbols, allegory, and motifs. Resurrection motif. Resurrection appears again and again in Lycidas, both in Milton's description of the sun rising and setting and in his allusions to classical mythology. One example is his reference to the Arethusa. The Arethusa is the name of a real fountain in Sicily, thought to inspire poets. Though Milton does not tell the full story of the Arethusa in his poem, his readers would have known it from other writers. According to Ovid, the Arethusa formed after a river nymph attempted to run from a river god. She fled beneath the sea as the god pursued her until an opening appeared in the earth, giving her one last chance at escape. The fountain now stands at the spot where the nymph tried to break through. By alluding to the Arethusa, Milton evokes the story of something new and beautiful forming out of pain, a version of the resurrection to which his poem ultimately aspires. Pastoral poetry allegory. Milton always remains skeptical of the genre in which he is writing. Though Lycidas is a pastoral elegy, it is also a poem about why a pastoral elegy can never fully express grief. His speaker is constantly running up against the limits of the form, smirking at the tradition he draws upon to express his sorrow for the death of Lycidas. Pastoral poetry becomes an allegory for all the conventions for expressing grief, the pomp of funerals, speeches, burials, indeed of any ceremony that tries to master a feeling that can never truly be contained. Water symbol. Milton uses water as a symbol for grief throughout Lycidas. His speaker begins to sing of Lycidas for fear his death will go unwept in the first stanza. When he calls upon the muses to fill his urn with water to inspire his poetry, he turns water into a metaphor for creative inspiration as well. The contradiction between these two images is also a contradiction at the bottom of the poem. Even as Milton mourns his dead friend, he himself is pulsing with life and his own creative ambitions, and he can't suppress his desire to create something new, to write the poem we are reading. Orpheus Allegory. Though Milton mentions Orpheus just once in Lycidas, his story is always running in the background of the poem. Orpheus was the greatest singer in Greek mythology, a figure similar to the singing shepherds in pastoral poetry. He learned to sing from Apollo, who also guides Milton's speaker, and became legendary when he descended to the underworld to take his wife back from the grave. Using music as his guide, Orpheus tried to return his wife to earth, but he lost her forever when he looked back at her face too soon. His story captures the fantasy behind Lycidas, that the speaker can call Lycidas back to life by writing a poem. Every time the speaker loses himself in descriptions of the landscape, beautiful images that call back the happiness of his friendship with Lycidas, he is guiding his friend back to life. When he recalls his friend's death, he loses Lycidas all over again and falls into despair. Like Orpheus, he always loses Lycidas before the resurrection is complete. And like Orpheus, he can't stop looking back. He is trapped in the past, in his memories of his dead friend, and his poetry struggles to move beyond his grief. Shepherd's motif. In pastoral poetry, the shepherds who sing of their lost loves are always grieving. Their tears never end, and eventually their mourning becomes part of their identity. Though they might seem to beat themselves in despair, their mourning is always a performance. They don't actually want to conquer their sadness because their misery is part of their act. In Lycidas, Milton is trying to break out this tradition. Unlike the shepherds in pastoral poetry, his speaker finds consolation. The poem ends with the possibility of his speaker moving to new pastures beyond his grief. In order to conquer his own despair, Milton also upends a tradition where the speakers never leave their sadness behind. As the speaker leaves his grief behind in the final stanza, he leaves the pastoral tradition behind as well, exchanging it for the Christian promise of rebirth. Lycidas pastoral poetry. Lycidas is an example of pastoral poetry, a genre that uses nostalgic scenes from the shepherd's life to address universal themes. The Greek poet Theocritus popularized the genre with his Idyls, a series of poems structured around singing competitions between shepherds. At the time Theocritus was writing, Greeks already felt they had lost the simplicity of the rural life and looked back wistfully at the time when shepherds had roamed the fields tending to their flocks. At the moment of its invention, pastoral poetry already felt antiquated. The genre is always looking back, and in this sense, it is appropriate for Milton's depiction of a speaker who can't stop grieving. By turning himself and king into two shepherds, Milton suggests their relationship is already part of the unrecoverable past. Though Milton chooses to eulogize King through the pastoral, he also remains skeptical of the genre. The songs of the shepherds in pastoral poetry are performative, not genuine expressions of grief. and his speaker seems to sense that these tools will not succeed in communicating his emotion. By choosing a form he knows cannot express genuine feeling, Milton sets up his speaker to fail. He creates circumstances in which his poem cannot communicate the loss of king, and poetry feels like an impossible way to mourn.